Hey everybody, this is Dave. I'm going to repeat a video. This is a video I did with Bryan Jensen, actually about a year and a half ago, 2 years ago. It was a very long video. It was called, Is Mormonism a Restoration of Heresies? Now, it was so long, it was like 40 minutes, and I knew a lot of people would have a tough time with it. But I got to be honest with you, it's such an amazing video that I'm going to be breaking up the pieces. So what you're going to see is all these different heresies and heretics that were involved in the ancient church in which they were excommunicated. And what you're going to see next is Bryan explaining these heresies and how these heresies actually were used by Joseph Smith in Mormonism. So many of the beliefs that Mormonism has was from the heretics and the heresies of the ancient church. It's such a good video that I really want you to really focus in on it, but it's so long that I only had 1,900 views. This should have 100,000, 200,000 views. So what I'm going to be doing is piecing up. You're going to see a lot of pieces of different heretics and heresies and how it correlates to Mormonism. It's a very, very worthwhile show, and I'm going to be showing this now, and you're going to do 5 minutes. I'm going to be doing 5-minute sections of each of the heresies. So please watch. Now, one of the things I do want to share with you, and some of the things that people might not know about this, is that the body, the church itself, we're talking about the ancient church. So this is the church that was the church that had apostles, influenced. It was apostolic doctrine, apostolic succession. So we're referring more to the bishops that they came together. How did they come together and disagree with ideas? What did they do?
Well, probably the best example, if we want to start out there, would be take the very first council that was convened in the 4th century, and this was the Council of Nicaea. And we had an influential priest in the area of Alexandria, Egypt, who was teaching that Jesus Christ was a created being, that he wasn't always co-eternal with the Father. In other words, he wasn't always God. And so it wasn't merely to say that Jesus is divine, but that it sort of raises questions about the incarnation, that God is literally present in Jesus with his people, right? So Arius, as a priest, was teaching this teaching that came to be known as Arianism, and then his bishop wrote a treatise against these teachings.
And who was the bishop again?
Athanasius.
Okay.
And then Athanasius presented this to the council, and some people oftentimes will say, this is the council where the Trinity was invented as a doctrine, right?
Yeah.
But the reality is that the Trinity was believed, and it was being defended. Athanasius, anyone can go and read his book called Against Arius, and he details from both scripture teaching and from the dominant tradition of the church why this was an errant teaching. And he argues Trinitarian belief to defend it, rather than saying, we've had this challenge raised, now let's start changing the doctrine in order to combat this. And so that's a very subtle but important nuance, because he was the bishop who had responsibility for correcting these teachings. He did so and then presented it to the church. And Arius even had followers among the imperial court. And so the fact that the emperor himself had held on to these teachings, and then for 318 bishops to come together and 316 of them to say, no, we disagree, this is not the teaching of the church, that's a significant percentage, right? That it truly wasn't Constantine's choice to invent doctrine. He remained opposed to the church's teaching even after they reached their decision.